King and rook versus king checkmate. Similar to the checkmate with the king and the queen, when we are trying to checkmate using the king and the rook, we need to drive the opponent's king to the edge of the board. It doesn't matter which edge, but we need to chase it to some edge. So we can use a similar method to drive the king away. First, we will move our rook up and make sure the king cannot move in the opposite direction. So here we are trying to drive the black king to uh, the 8th rank. So there are multiple ways of doing this, but I'm showing here an easy way that you can do. It may take slightly longer, but it's easy to learn and easy to remember. Now black has a move. Let's say black will try to attack the white rook. We will move our king up. The black king will attack the white rook. Now if we just let the rook be here, the king is going to capture it. But we should make sure that we keep preventing the king from going in the opposite direction. Now if the black king moves to f4, look at this. The white king on f2 prevents the opposing king moving forward because the white king controls these highlighted squares e3, f3 and g3. So if the black king is here, we can use our rook to check. And now the king is forced to move back. And we would have achieved chasing the black king one row back or one rank back uh, towards the edge of the board. So black king will not willingly go to f4, but will go to h4. Now if we check, the king can go in the opposite direction. So we will move the king here, and the black king will be forced to move to the left. So we have to make sure that we check only when the two kings are facing each other, because when the kings are facing each other, none of the kings can move forward. So white can safely use the rook to check. The black king cannot move forward. It has to move back. Now we have succeeded in chasing the black king one further row back. So we will try to push it further. We move our king up. Now one of the mistakes beginners do here is we try to move our king in front of the black king. That's not going to work because then the king is going to move away. We move in front of the king avoids us. We move in front, the king avoids us. We are not getting anywhere. And if we check out of frustration here, this king is going to move in the other direction. The king would escape, so that's not going to work. So we have to be a bit patient here, and we have to wait until the opponent's king moves in front of us. Then we can check. So how do we achieve that? We can waste some moves. We'll waste a move by moving the rook to h4. Now if the black king moves to f5, we can check, and the king would be forced to move back. So the king will not willingly go to f5, it will go on the other direction, so that if white checks, the king can escape. But now we can chase the king. So black king cannot move to e5. If it moves there, we check. So the king will be pushed back. So it will try to escape by moving to the left. Our king chases it. Black king moves left. White king chases. But now the king has reached the edge of the board. There's no further square to move on the left. So it's forced to come to the right. Now the kings are facing each other. This is the ideal time for the check. The white king on b3 prevents the black king's approach, and the rook controls the entire 5th rank. The king has to move further back. Now the king is restricted to these 3 back ranks. So we'll use the same method. Waste a move, king runs away, We chase the king. Keeps running away. We are chasing. We're chasing. And now no further squares on the right. It moves to the left. We check. And the black king is even closer to the edge of the board. We waste a move. King running away as it doesn't want to come in front of my king, fearing the check. It runs away. We chase. It runs away. We chase. It's forced to come in front of our king and we check. Now the king is on the edge of the board. It's trying to run away. We waste a move. Now if the king moves to c8, it will be checkmated. So the king will run away to the right. Our king gives chase. The chase continues. And it runs out of moves and it's forced to come to g8. Our king controls all these squares. It's the time to deliver the final checkmate. This is the king and rook versus king checkmate.